Zhang Yi went to the living room, and there was Shilime looking for something to eat. He threw it in her face that he stored everything, so there's no use looking for anything. He also ordered her to go take care of Uncle Yu all the time and do whatever is necessary. Soon the woman obeyed and went to her husband's room. The next step was to go after another traitor, so he went up to the top floor of the building with a police shield in hand, shot the lock on the door, and kicked it open. Feng Yuqing ran towards him with a knife and hit the shield, losing the knife upon impact and falling backward. Zhang Yi remarked that it had been a long time since he'd seen the girl. Looking at her best friend on the table, he said he understood how someone as incompetent as her managed to stay alive. Lost in anger, madness, and other stupid feelings, she screamed. Why couldn't anyone kill him? It was Zhang Yi's fault. If he had been a loser like he always was, she would have accepted being with him. Zhang Yi didn't want to talk. He immediately hit her leg with a bat, breaking the bone. Then dragging her by the hair, he said he should have done it a long time ago. The cynical girl yelled that no. Feng Yuqing regretted it, not her older brother Zhang Yi. The protagonist let her go from the top floor and watched her fall heavily into the snow, contentedly watching the young and innocent Feng Yuqing lying in the snow. The next morning, at his house, Zhang Yi went to check on Uncle Yu in the room. Unexpectedly, his recovery speed was several times faster than that of an ordinary person. In just one day, his bullet wound had healed. Zhang Yi asked Zhou Qi to monitor his condition until he fully recovered to be sure. She then administered a sedative injection to Uncle Yu, as usual. At that moment, Shilime approached and asked Zhang Yi to go to her house to get her phone charger and the baby's diapers. He looked at Uncle Yu and remembered that people in a coma are said to hear everything said around them, so he was kind to the woman and said he would do it after he finished something urgent. Leaving the room, Zhang Yi said it was time to eliminate the opportunists. He went outside to set more buildings on fire while saying to himself that this was to eliminate potential threats. Zhu Hao, who had been beaten up before, realizing Zhang Yi was approaching, came forward and said he had valuable information for his older brother. Zhang Yi smiled, thinking he already had practically everything he needed. What else could be important? Big brother Zhang Yi, have you heard of Wang Simon, the richest man in the city? He built an underground shelter called the Doomsday with $200 million. Because Zhang Yi showed interest, Zhu Hao asked to talk in a place where no one could hear. They went to an apartment, and then Zhu Hao spilled the beans. He said that Wang Simon's shelter is in a luxury-gated community. Zhang Yi then asked, "So what? What's your reason for telling me this?" Zhu Hao replied, "The point is, there are infinite food supplies there." He wants to be Zhang Yi's helper to rob Wang Simon's underground shelter. The protagonist found this idea ridiculous. No matter what's inside, invading such a secure place isn't worth the risk for him. However, Zhu Hao argues that Wang Simon already knows about Zhang Yi and even contacted him to steal his snowmobile. This information only made Zhang Yi angry. He asked Zhu Hao how he wanted to die. Frightened, the guy shouted that he wouldn't plot anything against Zhang Yi and actually wanted to help him. To make things even clearer, the protagonist shot Zhu Hao next to his head and asked for a good reason to let him live. The guy said that the mansion has plenty of food and he wants to join Zhang Yi to ensure food for himself too. Furthermore, Zhu Hao was friends with Wang Simon, the spoiled rich kid who had everything one could want and still humiliated Zhu Hao in front of girls. He mainly wants to get revenge on Wang Simon. Zhang Yi is very interested in vengeance, so he gives him a chance. The protagonist asks if he knows about the security of the place, how many enemies there are, and similar things. "Tell me now." Fearful, Zhu Hao says he will only give the details if they make a deal first. The protagonist smiles and says he'd prefer to crack his head open. Zhu Hao argues that he knows Zhang Yi has eliminated everyone who's no longer useful to him, so he won't say anything even under threat, since the outcome is the same. After these words, Zhang Yi says Zhu Hao is smart, so he will accept to negotiate. The guy is happy, but Zhang Yi says there are two conditions first. He needs him to help eliminate someone who has been bothering him every day. He takes Zhu Hao to an apartment and tells him there's a secret to share with him. The cunning protagonist takes out a briefcase and leaves the guy scared and confused about what it is. But he admits that joining Zhang Yi will at least ensure his survival, so any risk is worth it. The protagonist takes out a syringe and says he was a professional assassin, and that's how he survived until now. He says it's an assurance. This poison is very common and takes effect in a week. After they take over Wang Simon's shelter, he will give him an antidote. Zhang Yi applies everything and says they will eliminate someone today. Zhu Hao should wait at this person's house right away. When alone, Zhang Yi reveals that it was just saline solution. It was a strategy to reduce the chances of being betrayed. Returning home, he saw Shilime with his Uncle Yu. He went to the room to tell his uncle that he's happy, he's okay, and from now on, he will take care of the three of them as a family, and they will all live together here. it's a promise. Hearing this, Zilame is very happy and says a promise is a promise. She hands over her baby and says she will bring her and the baby's things from home. Zilame thinks that with the baby and Uncle Yu here, Zhang Yi wouldn't be able to lock her out and kick her out of here. With her baby and phone in hand, Zhang Yi notifies that she left and Shu Hao should handle the problem. While the scoundrel plays with the baby, the mother went to open the door of her house, thinking she would never return here. Her surprise was that someone was inside the house. So frightened, the girl couldn't even try to defend herself. She was hit and then received several more attacks. Satisfied, Zhu Hao sent a message saying the trash was taken out. She really won't be going back to her place anymore, nor to Zhang Yi's house. At home, Zhang Yi tells his Uncle Yu that now he and his wife Shilame will also live here, and it will be great. However, Uncle Yu, unlike his wife, says that this is too much. He shouldn't bother Zhang Yi that much. The baby starts crying, and not knowing how to fix it, Zhang Yi hands it over to Jokir. You need to change the diapers. Figure it out, woman. Returning to the room, he went to talk to Uncle Yu again. The uncle says that she's taking too long, and he's worried. Zhang Yi tells Jokir that he'll go look for Zilame because she's taking too long. Zhang Yi went to his room to gear up, sent a message to his building group asking all neighbors to gather at apartment 1301. He will distribute rewards and food for everyone. He sends a voice message privately to Shu Hao, telling him not to come if he wants to stay alive. After a while, everyone was happy. All the other buildings were eliminated, and now they can follow Zhang Yi and secure their food. Outside the apartment, the protagonist hears that everyone is there. He doesn't enter, throws 2 grenades inside, and closes the door. Everyone was happy, and out of nowhere, 2 grenades appear. There wasn't even time to blink, and everything went up in flames. The door was completely destroyed. Zhang Yi, hoping he had protected himself with the shield, entered the room to check the chaos. Everything was in pieces. One of them who survived, angry, asks why. They all helped him so much. Why kill them? Without mercy, Zhang Yi says that he helped everyone survive, and now they owe their lives to him. He's just taking what's his. After erasing all the residents of his building, the protagonist says that now he has killed all his enemies from his past life, except for Chen Zhang, because of Jokir. Back home, he goes to talk to Uncle Yu and says that there's trouble. Their neighbors rebelled and eliminated Xie Li Mei. They were planning with leaders from other buildings to eliminate us. Zhang Yi says he took care of them, but some escaped. The uncle, crying, says it's his fault. Frustrated, he punches the bed and makes Zhang Yi think that his power, apart from healing, is super strength. He tells him to calm down. Zhang Yi says he's also to blame for this. This world is very cruel, but he'll get a new woman for him, and she'll be very attractive. Don't worry, this leaves the old man all shy. One last problem for Zhang Yi is the baby. Jokir says he won't stop crying, and nothing works now. With his eyes, he asks if she has used that. She feels embarrassed, saying that's enough. These are only for Zhang Yi's use. The protagonist says he will get someone who can breastfeed the baby. We didn't see if he talked to Uncle Yu about it, because in the next scene, Zhang Yi was going with the baby to Li Jian's building. Maybe this was the only one the protagonist didn't burn. He called for their leader, Li Jian, and told him he needed him. Zhang Yi asks if he's not afraid. Li Jian says he is, but it's also useless to run away from him. Moreover, coming like this with a baby in his arms doesn't seem like he was here to kill them. He asked them to find a mother to take care of this baby. There's food here for a while, for whoever takes the child. Zhang Yi says he won't do anything against him and his building because he truly knows they won't try anything against him. Li Jian, not very grateful, says he will take care of the child. He even runs to a woman, hands over the child and the food, and tells her to take it because everything here is truly shared. Observing how many people are alive in his building, Zhang Yi asks how they will survive when their food runs out. Li Jian says that when there's no food, they will die with dignity. The protagonist says that the food problem can be solved with the things he burned before. Li Jian firmly says no, and despite everything Zhang Yi did to corrupt Li Jian, he never faltered once, so Zhang Yi says he admires him a lot, and Li Jian also says he admires how Zhang Yi has the power to keep those close to him alive. Thinking for a moment, Li Jian wanted to ask a favor of the protagonist, but Zhang Yi stops him and says no. However, he continues, and says that the protagonist used to deliver food to all the buildings before, so now that there's only one building left, why not help them? Zhang Yi just refuses and leaves, but after thinking for a moment, he changes his mind a little. He says that if he helps his people for a while, everything will go wrong, and they'll end up like the other buildings too. Instead, he gives them all the seeds he had. If they manage to plant them somehow, they will be able to rely on themselves and not on others. These seeds are the last thing they received from him. For the first time since the snow apocalypse began, Zhang Yi helps someone without any ulterior motives. Li Jian asks one of his residents if it's possible to cultivate it, and an elderly biologist biology teacher, says it's not impossible. Maybe there's a small chance of success. Meanwhile, in his luxury home, Zhang Yi mentions that the neighbor's issue has been completely resolved, and now the goal is to get their hands on a new fortress. After a while, Zhou Qier returns home and asks if he's finished his work. Yes. Taking off her coat, she asks what he wants to eat. Zhou Qier, all innocent, starts preparing in the kitchen, and the mischievous protagonist holds her back and says she should guess what he wants to eat. She feels awkward, mentioning that her uncle is in the next room, but Zhang Yi says the house has soundproofing and thermal insulation. The next day, Zhou Qier, very tired from all the effort, continued sleeping. Zhang Yi sends a message to Xu Hao, "Come to my house now." It didn't take long for him to arrive. The same person who not long ago was being kicked by others on Zhang Yi's orders was now in his warm house. Out of respect, he sits on the floor and not on the sofa, waiting for the boss. Zhang Yi wants to know about the dealings with Wang Ximeng. Before Xu Hao can speak, the protagonist tells him to shut up and give him his phone. Xu Hao freezes in fear. Why on earth does he want to see his phone? Zhang Yi insists, saying to hurry. He's going to read his conversations with Wang Ximeng.